On February 1st, 1995, Michael Jordan was closer than anyone realized to a future far away from the NBA. Just 45 days before he stunned the world, MJ was on the brink of committing fully to baseball, and Scottie Pippen was prepared to leave the Chicago Bulls for good. This was the reality before I'm back, and it almost erased one of basketball's greatest dynasties.
Quote unquote, I'm back. That's all Jordan said on Saturday. That was really all Jordan needed to say as his 17-month retirement came to an end. He will be back on Sunday when the
Imagine a world where Michael Jordan never stepped back onto a basketball court, where the Chicago Bulls, just 2 years after winning 3 consecutive titles, never saw their second legendary three-peat. That's exactly where things were headed in the early months of 1995. MJ had invested himself in baseball, a passion that had roots far deeper than most people knew, and he'd just joined a private golf club in Nashville, locking in his plans to stay close to his new sport. Meanwhile, Scottie Pippen was trapped in relentless trade rumors, and he wasn't shy about voicing his frustrations. The Bulls were 22-21, barely clinging to a playoff spot in the East, and Chicago's biggest stars seemed destined for entirely different futures. How did MJ go from swinging bats to putting on a Bulls jersey again? What changed in those crucial weeks that brought him back to basketball when he was so close to being gone for good? This is the day-by-day countdown of the 45 days leading to that legendary declaration. 2 words that reshaped NBA history and sent shockwaves across the world. Stay with us as we unravel the intense moments and decisions behind the greatest comeback the sport has ever seen. February 1995. The NBA universe was swirling with rumors, but one story dominated them all. Michael Jordan was out of the picture. The legendary Bulls guard was preparing for spring training with the Chicago White Sox organization, all while Scottie Pippen was publicly, visibly pushing for a trade away from Chicago. For Pippen, the franchise felt like it was crumbling, and without MJ, he was left to carry an impossible weight. MJ was fully dedicated to baseball, seemingly at peace with a life away from the court, and Pippen's morale was in tatters. But in just 45 days, a monumental shift would bring these 2 icons back together and rewrite basketball history. Here's how those fateful days unfolded. February 1st, 1995. On this day, Michael Jordan applied for a $20,000 membership at the golf club outside Nashville, a significant gesture signaling his intention to put down roots in his baseball career. The city of Nashville was already warming up to its newest hero. The idea of Jordan joining the Nashville Sounds had sparked a 15% surge in ticket sales. He was expected to bring more than a boost to ticket sales. Fans hoped his charisma would breathe new life into the baseball league that was fighting to recover from a devastating player strike. But the Bulls back in Chicago were barely hanging on. They stood at 22-21, just the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference, a far cry from their former glory. Meanwhile, Scottie Pippen was grappling with his future. Trade rumors swirled around him, fueled by a column in the Chicago Tribune titled "Keep Phil, Trade Scottie," which intensified his resentment. As much as Jordan's departure stung, the ongoing lack of direction and instability from the Bulls' front office made it worse. Pippen felt undervalued and overlooked, and as he watched the team's position in the standings deteriorate, his desire to leave Chicago intensified. February 2nd. Just 1 day after Jordan's Nashville golf membership, the Bulls faced a tough road game against the Sacramento Kings, and it was a disaster. The Bulls lost by a demoralizing 22 points, ending the night with only 68 total points, one of the lowest scoring games in franchise history. Pippen fought hard, managing to score 22, but the team's performance as a whole was abysmal. The Bulls were now 22-22, their standing slipping further with each disappointing loss. As fans watched the team that once soared to new heights crumble, many couldn't help but wonder if the dynasty was dead for good. February 3rd. Back in Chicago, something symbolic happened. The old Chicago Stadium, once the roaring heart of the Bulls' glory days, was being demolished. Jordan himself saw this as an emotional nail in his basketball coffin. The iconic stadium had been the arena where he transformed from a promising rookie to a global superstar. For many, seeing the building torn down felt like a closing chapter. For Jordan, it felt like a sign, a final affirmation that he was right to walk away. There were now few, if any, tangible links to his basketball past. Baseball was his focus, and in Nashville, the sounds of fans chanting his name were quickly replacing the echoes of the United Center. But even as the last remnants of Chicago Stadium were torn down, whispers of Jordan's return persisted in fan circles. Some believed, almost superstitiously, that Jordan might return, but there was little in his behavior that suggested it. February 4th. The Nashville Sounds still hadn't made an official announcement, but everyone in the city could feel it. Jordan was about to become the team's left fielder. Ticket sales for the upcoming season had surged. Nashville was alive with baseball hype, and Jordan was ready to dig into his new sport. The White Sox general manager, Ron Schuler, had to issue a statement because of the ongoing MLB Players Association strike. Schuler clarified that Jordan would not serve as a replacement player, saying, "He doesn't want to, and I wouldn't let him." The comment came from a place of respect for Jordan's commitment, as well as a firm understanding of the baseball union's stance. The Bulls, meanwhile, continued to slide, their already wounded roster struggling to keep up. Fans were angry and disillusioned, left with little hope of any light at the end of the tunnel. February 5th. Back in Chicago, tensions continued to rise within the Bulls organization. The Chicago Tribune published a profile on the Bulls GM, Jerry Krause, titled "The Man Behind the Dynasty" by journalist Melissa Isaacson. The article painted Krause in a contentious light, depicting him as the main instigator behind the Bulls' current troubles. It included an explosive quote from an unnamed NBA agent: "Even a lesser player wouldn't want to deal with the Bulls right now unless he has absolutely no other options." The friction within the organization was public knowledge, with Krause caught in a tug-of-war between disgruntled players, fed-up fans, and a deeply frustrated coaching staff. The article only fueled rumors that Pippen would eventually be traded, possibly to a title-contending team where he'd be valued. For Pippen, this was the last straw. He was one of the league's top players, yet here he was on a sinking ship, being misused and undervalued. His patience was gone, and he began to openly discuss his desire to move to a franchise where he'd be given the respect he deserved. February 8th. Michael Jordan's transition to baseball was not without complications. The ongoing MLB strike had begun to draw media attention to whether the White Sox organization or the MLB Players Association might use Jordan as a pawn in their negotiations. The prospect of the White Sox attempting to use Jordan as leverage concerned Ron Schuler, who once again insisted that Jordan would not become a replacement player under any circumstances. Schuler's position was clear, but behind closed doors, Jordan couldn't escape the sense that baseball politics were quickly entangling him. February 9th. Back on the basketball court, the Bulls wrapped up a punishing 6-game Western road trip, which had been an absolute grind. They lost 4 of their last 5 games, returning to Chicago with a mediocre 23-25 record, still 6th in the Eastern Conference. Pippen, meanwhile, continued to put up all-star performances despite the turmoil, earning first-team All-NBA and first-team All-Defensive honors. Yet the NBA's 89, the highest-paid player, was growing weary. He publicly voiced his wish for a trade, explicitly mentioning his desire to play for the Suns. Pippen saw the Suns as a title-contending team where he could find his place as a star. And while rumors of potential trades swirled, nothing had been finalized. Still, Chicago's dwindling morale and escalating public outcry continued to apply pressure on the front office. February 10th. The All-Star Weekend provided a moment of spotlight for Pippen, who seized the opportunity. In a candid press interview, he said he was hoping for a trade and hinted that playing for the Suns, the All-Star Weekend's host city, would be a dream come true.
What about the trade talks? I know you're close to the situation. You said you want out. Do you think you'll be traded by February 23rd, the deadline?
Well, I hope I am.
The comment was explosive, immediately making waves in the sports world. Back in Chicago, Bulls fans felt a mix of anger, confusion, and sadness. To many, Pippen's desire to leave felt like betrayal, but others understood his frustration, recognizing that he was fighting against an impossible situation. The Bulls, it seemed, were crumbling, and no one, not the players, not the fans, and certainly not Pippen, knew how to stop it. February 11th. Once more, Schuler went on the record insisting that Jordan wouldn't serve as a replacement player if the baseball strike persisted. For his part, Jordan was committed to honoring the minor league process, working diligently in spring training without stepping into the MLB's tumultuous negotiations. But back in Chicago, the rumors about a potential Pippen for Majerle trade continued to simmer, adding fuel to the Bulls' internal fire. Fans and analysts speculated endlessly about the possible trade, with many seeing it as a final blow to the Bulls' aspirations. February 12th. In a telling moment, Schuler offered high praise for Jordan's baseball progress.
If MJ keeps making the same improvements, he'll make it awfully tough on us not to bring him up in September.
Bulls owner Jerry Reinsdorf chimed in, saying,
"He's got to make significant progress this year,"
setting a high bar for Jordan's performance. Jordan himself responded to critics in his usual confident style, saying,
"People thought I'd embarrass myself, and that hasn't happened."
He was determined to prove his worth, and to everyone watching, he was making steady strides. But some baseball insiders quietly wondered how long his commitment to the sport would last. February 15th. In Sarasota, MJ reported early to spring training, a clear signal of his dedication to baseball. Though position players weren't due for another week, Jordan was already hard at work, diving into batting practice, drills, and training sessions with minor league coaches. To them, it was a mark of his exceptional work ethic, a rare combination of talent and sheer drive that few athletes could match. But back in Chicago, the Bulls were unraveling at the seams. Post-All-Star break, the team was still scrambling to find cohesion without their former leader. Chicago fans watched, disillusioned, as the Bulls staggered through the season, lacking the spark and dominance that had once made them untouchable. The press wasn't any kinder. Analysts speculated on whether Phil Jackson could hold the team together for much longer, or if he too would be on the chopping block if the Bulls' poor performance persisted. These are the days, each moment a vital cog in the engine of fate that would eventually bring Michael Jordan back to the game he'd once dominated. But for now, the stakes were impossible to read. For fans, the idea of seeing Jordan return to the Bulls was pure fantasy, a distant hope. And yet, in Nashville and Chicago, the tension was palpable. Each passing day was another thread in the complex tapestry that was Michael Jordan's unexpected journey. But the story was only just beginning. Each day, each decision would shape the legacy of the Bulls and the NBA itself. The countdown continued, but few could see where it would ultimately lead. February 17th, Michael Jordan's 32nd birthday marked a significant milestone, not only because of his age, but because, for the first time in years, he was celebrating it outside of the NBA spotlight. He wasn't leading the Bulls into playoff contention or dominating on national television. Instead, he was in Sarasota preparing for a baseball season with the Chicago White Sox. As pitchers and catchers reported to the White Sox camp, Jordan stood among them, navigating an entirely different athletic landscape. The quiet, structured routine of baseball was a sharp contrast to the frenzied, dynamic life he had known as a basketball superstar. Chicago, meanwhile, found a glimmer of solace in the Bulls' victory over the Pistons, pulling their record back to .500. But even that win was tinged with the question, could they survive without their undisputed leader? February 18th. Jordan's loyalty to players' unions and his ethical stance came to the forefront when he publicly voiced his support for the MLB Players Association. He emphasized that as an athlete, he understood the struggles of the working class and would not cross the picket line to play as a replacement. White Sox management had assured him he wouldn't be put in the predicament of crossing that line. To Jordan, supporting the union wasn't just a statement, it was a core part of his values. Meanwhile, the Bulls traveled to Milwaukee, struggling once again and falling short by 7 points. Without Jordan's fire on the court, the team felt like it was running on fumes. February 19th. As if February 19th didn't carry enough weight with union tensions, The day also marked Scottie Pippen's sudden rumors of being traded to the Phoenix Suns. Pippen's frustration with the Bulls had reached new heights, and with Jordan gone, he found himself shouldering the team's burdens without his partner in crime. In the baseball world, the MLBPA's Donald Fair laid down strict rules, stating that any minor leaguer who appeared in exhibition games would be labeled a strike-breaker. White Sox general manager Ron Schuler, however, saw Jordan as an asset who could draw fans, even if he appeared in replacement games. But Jordan, determined to honor the union, refused to participate. Even as his name was being dragged into the headlines of both sports, Jordan stood firm, unwilling to betray his beliefs. February 20th. As the baseball strike deepened, Jordan became a symbol of solidarity within the union. Major league players knew he had the public's attention, and his mere presence added weight to their cause. That day, AAA outfielder named Dan Howitt reported to White Sox camp, firmly refusing to play as a replacement player. "I want to be like Mike," he declared, showing solidarity with Jordan's stance. Back in the NBA, however, the Bulls lost another game, this time to the Charlotte Hornets. For Bulls fans, each loss served as a painful reminder of the MJ-shaped void on the court, a growing silence in the arena where Jordan's electrifying presence once reigned supreme. February 22nd. The Bulls organization was in turmoil, and no one felt it more than Pippen. By February 22nd, trade rumors had reached fever pitch, with a deal nearly in place to send Pippen to the Clippers.
All right, so now this is February of 95, and the Clippers put this on the table. They say, for Scottie Pippen, we want to give you our first-round pick in 95, which was number 2, our first-round pick in 96, and the rights to swap in 97 or 98.
It would have been a blockbuster move. Pippen for multiple first-round picks and young talent. But the deal fell through at the last moment. Ron Harper, a former Clipper, reportedly warned Pippen about the bleakness of life, with the franchise dissuading him from moving forward. For Pippen, the failed trade was a mixed blessing, leaving him caught between a franchise he was frustrated with and a team that he couldn't abandon. Yet again, the Bulls' hopes for a quick fix dwindled. February 23rd, the NBA trade deadline came and went, leaving Pippen in Chicago. Months of swirling rumors involving no less than 9 teams culminated in nothing. It was a disheartening moment for Pippen, who had hoped for a fresh start away from Chicago's current chaos. The Bulls struggled in February, sitting 1 game below .500, and the fans' frustrations grew louder. Meanwhile, Jordan remained committed to the MLBPA's strike efforts, stating he wouldn't attend upcoming union meetings, but reaffirming his solidarity with the cause. His convictions placed him in direct opposition to the White Sox management's increasing pressure, setting the stage for a brewing conflict. February 25th, White Sox management, determined to push the envelope, intensified their pressure on players to cross the picket line. Schuler's tactics grew harsher, declaring that no more than 10 players would be exempt from playing in replacement games. For Jordan, the ethical dilemma was clear-cut. He was a minor leaguer, committed to the journey of every other minor league player. "I'm here to follow everybody else," he said. Even as Schuler's pressure mounted, Jordan refused to break rank. Meanwhile, the Bulls lost yet again, this time to Orlando, marking their 29th defeat of the season. As fans' faith in the Bulls wavered, whispers of Jordan's possible return grew louder. February 27th. Schuler's tactics took a hardline turn on February 27th, issuing an ultimatum to minor leaguers: cross the picket line or be sent home. For Jordan, this meant a brutal choice. While Sox management had long viewed him as an asset to attract fans, his unwillingness to compromise his principles now posed a problem. Schuler threatened to send Jordan home, making it clear he wouldn't tolerate anyone defying his directives. Unfazed, Jordan braced himself for the worst. That night, the Bulls managed a win against the Nets, but it did little to ease the palpable tension surrounding the team's future. March 1st. As March arrived, Jordan was faced with a decision that would shape his future. The White Sox announced that no one would be exempt from replacement games, and Schuler continued to turn up the pressure, insisting on a clear stance from each player by March 2nd. Jordan admitted he was 85% sure of his decision, though the outcome remained uncertain to fans and teammates alike. Meanwhile, Bulls fans received a small reprieve with a win over the Heat, but with the team's record hovering near .500, the season still seemed hopeless. Jordan's internal tug-of-war between loyalty to baseball and the call of the NBA continued, inching him closer to a defining choice. March 2nd marked a seismic shift. Tensions between Jordan and Schuler reached their boiling point, resulting in a dramatic fallout. White Sox players speculated that the clash stemmed from Schuler's decision to relocate non-replacement players to a less desirable locker room. But the real issue ran deeper. Schuler's insistence that Jordan should park outside the players' lot, a subtle yet pointed insult that stung deeply. Fed up, Jordan left camp in his Range Rover, never to return. The following day, White Sox players watched as Jordan's private jet flew over spring training, a silent but unmistakable message that he was gone. The baseball experiment was over. March 3rd to March 4th. As Jordan's absence sent shockwaves through the baseball world, Chicago buzzed with anticipation. Though White Sox management tried to play it cool, claiming his absence didn't matter until minor league camp opened on March 9th, the writing was on the wall. On March 4th, the Bulls, inching closer to .500, defeated the 76ers. For Phil Jackson, the absence of his star player weighed heavily, and doubts grew over whether he would remain with the Bulls beyond 1996. Yet an underlying current of optimism began to build. The hope of Jordan's return was no longer just wishful thinking, it was a distinct possibility. March 5th. On the morning of March 5th, rumors swirled that Jordan had reconnected with his old teammate, B.J. Armstrong. In a quiet moment, Jordan invited Armstrong to the Berto Center for a private workout, an unusual and thrilling occurrence that sent a jolt through the Bulls organization. Whether or not Jordan officially announced his intentions that day, the encounter left Armstrong invigorated, leading to his game-high 27 points against the Blazers the following night. The quiet workouts and clandestine meetings were whispers of a storm about to hit the NBA. March 7th to March 9th. Jordan's workouts at the Berto Center became harder to keep under wraps. By March 8th, the media caught wind of his return, and fans flocked to the Omni Chicago Hotel, hoping for a glimpse of the man who had redefined Chicago sports. Sportsbooks took notice, with the Mirage in Las Vegas adjusting the Bulls' title odds from 18-1 to 6-1. On March 9th, the frenzy reached new heights as newspapers declared it's Michael Mania. While White Sox management and Schuler remained in the dark, Bulls fans could feel it in the air. Michael was coming back. March 10th, Jordan issued an 8-paragraph statement formally retiring from baseball. The move confirmed what fans had dared to hope. He was returning to the sport that made him an icon. While ticket sales for Bulls games skyrocketed, the NBA buzzed with speculation about how his comeback would impact the playoffs. In Atlanta, the Hawks sold 1,800 tickets overnight for their March 25th game against the Bulls, while Detroit's April 12th game saw 2,000 tickets snapped up in anticipation of MJ's return. With each passing day, it felt less like a rumor and more like a promise. The comeback was in motion. March 11th. The Bulls, still missing their legendary leader, faced off against the Lakers on March 11th. Despite a valiant 40-point effort from Pippen, they fell short by 3 points, dropping to a 31 record. This game would go down in history as the last time the Bulls were at .500 until they briefly wavered there in the 1997-98 season. Though they had managed to tread water without Jordan, the team seemed like a shell of its former self, and the fans knew it. Little did they know they were witnessing the final chapter of the post-Jordan struggle. His return was imminent, and with it, a new era of dominance. March 13th. On March 13th, all eyes turned to Chicago. The famous Bigsby and Crothers billboard, which had long celebrated Jordan's achievements, added a simple yet monumental word to the display: yes. That day, Jordan appeared at the Berto Center once again, drawing an unprecedented crowd of 100 reporters. The media, the fans, and even rival players were all abuzz. unable to contain their excitement and speculation. Was this a real return or just a tease? For the Bulls, the energy was palpable, a contagious thrill running through each practice as Jordan's old competitive spirit began to spread through the team once again. March 15th, Jordan's return didn't just stir fans and players, it moved markets. From March 8th to March 15th, the stock prices of companies he endorsed, Nike, Sara Lee, McDonald's, General Mills, and Quaker Oats, skyrocketed, adding a staggering $2.6 billion in market value. It was as if the entire business world knew that something monumental was unfolding. MJ's influence had always extended beyond the court, and this comeback underscored just how much power his name held. Each announcement, rumor, and sighting added fuel to the hype machine. His presence alone was an economic force, reinforcing his status as not just an athlete, but a global icon. March 16th. March 16th saw one of the more peculiar scenes in this comeback saga. Reporters, desperate to catch a glimpse of Jordan entering the Berto Center, tried disabling the electronic gate to keep him from slipping in unnoticed. It was a reminder of the frenzy his return had inspired. The great media coverage surprised even Jordan, who had become used to the limelight. From behind the scenes, though, he was already completely reintegrating with the team. He apparently jumped on Luke Longley's back during practice and yelled, "I'm with you guys." It was more than just words. It gave his colleagues hope that he was back in spirit and ready to fight alongside them. March 17th. March 17th saw the Bulls play their last game without Michael. They mounted an exciting 15-point fourth-quarter comeback to just beat the Bucks, 87-86. A fitting climax to the team's hard work in Jordan's absence. Will Perdue fed Scottie Pippen for the game-winning dunk. With this victory, the Bulls were now 34-31, and they wouldn't have to face the court without Jordan again until his second retirement in 1999. The game was a symbolic farewell to the post-Jordan struggles as the team looked ahead to a new chapter with their leader back in the lineup. March 18th. Then arrived March 18th, 1995, a date that would go down in sports history. Two words in a press release that rocked the globe caught the entire world's attention. "I'm back."
I'm back.
Jordan sent an electric charge through sportsmen, players, and fans all around with those words. It was a promise that the best was still to come, a proclamation, a rallying cry. Jordan had come full circle from bereaved son to baseball hopeful to basketball icon. His comeback was about giving a city, a team, and a sport sorely missed hope once more, not only about winning games.
Welcome him back, but we don't concern ourselves with them.
March 19th. Jordan suited up in the Bulls' recognizable red and black once more the very next day, March 19th, walking onto the court to meet the Indiana Pacers. It was as if he had never left. The sold-out crowd screamed, drowning the stadium in a noise so strong it felt like the rafters were shaking. From regular season games to all-star events, playoff challenges to preseason contests, Jordan would start 357 of the next 358 games. Ready to storm the league, he was back to recover his throne. Though the road had been long and unanticipated, in the end it all fit the legend of Michael Jordan. Not only would Jordan's comeback to the NBA in 1995 be remembered for the games that followed, but also for the emotional journey he took to get back to the game he loved. From his days as a baseball player negotiating the pressure of a strike to his quiet workouts in Chicago, every action resulted in this defining moment. His "I'm back" was a triumphant declaration that no amount of time or distance could keep him from his destiny. Not merely an announcement. This was Michael Jordan, a myth never really gone. The Bulls' future seemed even more bright from that point on.
Get your highlight reels rolling. Number 23 is in the house.
And that's the story of Michael Jordan's unforgettable return, one of the most electrifying moments in sports history. But what do you think? Could anyone else in basketball have pulled off a comeback like MJ's, or was it a one-of-a-kind moment only he could create? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more gripping sports stories, and ring the bell to stay updated on all our latest content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.